Good morning and welcome to the Small Business Support Group live from my garden. There it is. There's other people sat in the garden, which is always a bit weird. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the show. It's Wednesday. Let's bring the people on. Maz is in the house. Well, she's actually physically in a house. Grant is in his house.
Morning.
Mark is in his garden.
Yeah, it's like garden inside and the house outside.
That's right. Thanks for making the efforts. Do you have a struggle with the Wi-Fi this morning, Grant? Because you couldn't get outside, or
no?
Or didn't you get that message?
I didn't get that. What message was that? We're supposed to be outside today, are we?
Yeah. I said let's do it in the garden with a bit of sunshine.
I got no chance with my Wi-Fi.
Oh, won't it reach that far?
No, it won't go that far.
Okay, fair enough. That's all right. I've got a handheld mark, so that sounds.
Unless I sat out the front, I could sit out the front. I guess the front garden.
Well, you could do.
Yeah.
You know, if you wanted to. You never know where Mark is. It's just, it's just sky.
Mark could be by the bins, behind the bins, in the bins.
No.
Usually behind the bins. That's where he is.
Garden there.
There's the garden. Lovely.
Maz isn't in the garden, no, either.
No. There's a reason that we won't go into it though.
Fair enough. I did catch that message.
So, what are we? Let's go and run through what we are talking today, because obviously we are now on podcast, and we had a couple of listeners yesterday on the podcast already, which was nice. So, Maz, what did you want to talk about today?
So I wanted to talk about. I was actually going to talk about obesity. But then Matt said, "Why are you talking about that? Are you trying to say something to me?" And I said,
"No." With a sharp wit this morning.
I said, "No, actually, no, I'm not. But I am going to talk about going back to school and about a phone call that I've had with the head teacher yesterday, which wasn't a very pleasant one."
Okay. Oh, that'd be interesting to find out about that. Grant, what did you want to cover today?
I would like to sort of discuss how the lockdown will change our working life going forward, and how more and more people are going to be working remotely. I'd like to see how that's going to affect society as a whole.
Excellent. That's a good point as well. We've got great points this morning. And Mark, what are you going to talk about?
Really about going back to work with this whole thing that America is talking also about opening up more shops, businesses going back to work, as well as the UK. Milan has also started to open up. So it's not that we're getting back to normal, but we're trying to get the economy back on track.
Okay, Mark, we'll come back to you on that one. It doesn't matter how many times it happens. It's still really funny when Mark freezes. Okay, so let's. No, you won't. You froze your centre, but it's all right. Don't worry. Keep broadcasting. It's fine. Right, Maz, can you tell I'm slightly subdued on the microphone? Just slightly subdued, because everybody's got out in the gardens either side listening. So let's kick things off. Let's kick things off as ever with Maz. Over to you. Oh, I've cut her off again. I always do that.
And just to reiterate, guys, Matt's professional services are still available for your show requirements.
It just hovers. Every time there's Maz, it just hovers over the disconnect button. I don't know why. Anyway, let's go over to Maz.
Okay. So I received a phone call yesterday from my children's school, and it was a head teacher asking me how I felt about sending my kids back to school. And he said, how do you feel about sending the kids back to school? And I was just about to go in as to how I felt. And before I could answer, the head teacher started telling me about how teachers are at risk of catching the virus. And he went on. And I said, look, I'm going to have to stop you there. I said, I didn't realize from a head teacher who I've known him for many years, because both my kids have gone to the same school. I said, I didn't realize from a head teacher role, you're actually now a specialist on COVID-19. Anyway, and then I said, before you carry on, can I just say, I'm actually more than happy to send both my children to school. He then paused and he said, oh, okay, because a lot of parents are not happy. I said, okay, that's fine, but that's really not my problem, whether they want to send their kids back to school or not. I'm only accountable for my own kids. And I said, so on that note, I need for them to come back to school. it was like he wanted me to say, no, I don't want to send them to school. He then said, are you sure? And then I said, well, based on your theory, I just want to ask, and I know that the school has been open for key workers, and I also know the key workers, the children that have been going to school. So I said, look, I want to ask you, has the school been open for key workers? He said, yes, it has. And then I said, well, surely then the key workers' kids that have been coming to school, most of the parents have been frontline, working in the NHS, in close proximity to others with the virus. And these parents have then come to school, not just to the gate, not with a 2-meter distance, but straight into the class to pick these children up. And he said, yeah, they have. I said, well, then have any teachers caught the virus so far? He said, not that I know of. And then I said, well, exactly. So let's send the phone call and put my kids' names down so they can come back on the 2nd of June. Anyway, and it made me think that when things are normal, the teachers, the unions, etc., they moan about parents taking kids out of school for a holiday, for a week or similar, and the parents are actually berated for it. And now the kids have been out of school for 3 months, and the unions are putting every obstacle to prevent the kids returning. And if they think taking kids out of school for a week is bad, what do they then think? If the kids have been out of 3 months, surely you'd think that the kids need to get back to school ASAP. Otherwise, kids are going to lose out, big time in their education. I suppose the real tragedy of this is that kids who desperately need school as a place to learn, as there's no internet at home, are the ones who will lose most. Meanwhile, we've got the union leaders deciding to rerun the battle of the 1970s against a Tory government who have, after advice, said that they want to stagger the opening of schools. These union leaders, I think, are not interested in the students at all, but in the political point scoring. And if the government then said that schools must remain closed, these same unions would be demanding that they open so as not to jeopardize other people's education. I mean, playing politics with the country's economy, to me, that's really disgraceful. If Europe can start opening schools, so should we. Or perhaps these union leaders want us to raise a generation of uneducated people who will do what they tell us. I mean, just imagine a soldier refusing to advance, a nurse refusing to treat a patient, a doctor refusing to operate, supermarket workers refusing to go to work, delivery drivers staying at home. It's not been particularly safe for any of these key workers for the past couple of months, but they have got on with it. So why don't teachers just get on with it? Over to you guys.
So, first of all, just while all that was going on, Mark's come in and Grant's gone outside, which is really weird. So it does say to me, not everybody was listening to you, Maz. I know it was.
No, I was listening the whole time. Yeah.
Oh, of course you had your Bluetooth.
It sends joy to me to hear this, Maz, because I've been bleating on about it for so long. In as much as I've got a retired teacher as an aunt, I've got loads of neighbours who are teachers, all of which, I find in the local primary school that my kids now go to as as key workers. They get an email yesterday stating this will not be like a school that they know. This is not going to be normal. And what they said is, and one of the teachers wrote to him because she's in a different school, wrote back to the head and said, it sounds to me like you do not want her children to return.
Yeah.
Teaching and our school is making every effort to get kids back to school, and yet you're making every obstacle to prevent this. So it seems to me that there's two camps going on. Those who are there and want to get things moving and look after the well-being of our children, and those who feel like, actually, this is too hard. I'm not saying they're not doing a great job, But you know what? There's no science saying that our children of a certain age are being affected with coronavirus.
Well, as we speak now, my wife is just in the living room. This is not a joke. She's taken a HR exam, which has been upgraded, so she can get back in on the 1st of June. So they're all being trained in it. The unions are still squabbling about it, so that's just the way it is. And if you listen to 5 Live this morning, there was a 3/4 an hour debate with a council from up north with the presenter, and it was getting quite heated. And it's quite clear from what they were saying that teachers and head teachers don't really want the kids to go back, realistically, because they just don't feel safe. But the majority of teachers, teaching assistants, and everybody who works in schools are quite happy because they've took it amongst themselves to sort things out. And it's nice that this HR exam is working, because that means, the local education authority have done something about it and set this up, which is brilliant.
Yeah.
So this is definitely moving forward now, and I'm getting, but every day as we get close to when hopefully the schools will return, because we still don't know if they will, but I'm getting more comfortable with it. It's just with the whole general of the COVID. I went out yesterday. My wife put me out yesterday. I went.
Wow.
I know. I went outside of the village. I went, and we went to a bit of shop. We went to Costco over in Coventry, and they were sort of sorting everything out. Not as good as Tesco's. I know I've heard a lot of reports that Tesco's are great. Sorry, just to move on from education for the moment, but I just want to get this across. And they were letting so many extra amount of people go in there. They were wiping the trolleys down and all that. So they're doing their damn hardest to make sure we're comfortable. But then it's the idiots inside who are not adhering to anything. And it's, and I shouldn't really say idiots, but they are. They're just coming close to you, and everything like that. And it's some people still don't understand. So what's your point on education, Grant, with that alarm going off in the background?
It might not be a good time to do it with this alarm going off.
We can hardly hear it. Yeah, we can hardly hear it. Yeah.
I mean, I just think we need to get back to some kind of normality, and we've got to live with what we've got. We've still got COVID-19. It's obviously still a big issue, but like Boris says, we've got to use common sense, because we've got to get on with life. We've got to get on with the world. And let's face it, the majority of teachers and the majority of kids are at very low risk from actually dying from it. I'm not saying that some of the teachers are likely to get ill from it, but it's not going to cause them a major problem unless they've got underlying health issues, or they are, later in life. The risk is very, very low, isn't it? So I think we've got to, because we need to get back to some kind of normality. We haven't got much choice, otherwise the whole world's going to go down the toilet, the economy in particular. We've got to do our best, stop complaining about it, and get on with it. Because what choice do we have?
No, I think it is getting to that point now, isn't it?
Yeah.
With the whole, everything's sort of moving forward really well. And my comments over the past couple of weeks is because I haven't been outside of the village, and I know all of you have. You've all been at our village, but outside your central location, you've all been out there and seen what it's like in the real world. And I was like a rabbit in the headlights. I'm like, oh look, there's not that many. It's like a Sunday, So I was doing all that business yesterday, and so I think we are, we are getting on with it. Well, it is true. I mean, I said, can we go on the motorway to see what it's like? I was like a kid. Not much traffic, is there? So it is very strange. We're going to go back to you, Grant, actually, because you want to pick up on a few points. Don't forget, everybody, if you want to put any comments to us here, then please use the Facebook chat, and we'll get them up on screen as well. You were just going to talk about, Grant, how business is changing, because we're all working from home now, and good for it. And I think hopefully it can stay like this a little bit longer. I know Mark is eager to get his networking parties back. They're not parties. What am I saying? Parties? No, not parties. But he's eager to get his
sometimes they are
meetings. They are. I suppose they are. Especially when he's buying the drinks. But
You got the
so let's
balance.
go over to Grant.
You got the
We'll
balance.
go over to. Yeah, thanks.
Well,
We'll
well,
go
I think
over to Grant.
what's a really interesting conversation to have for business owners is how the world's going to change after this. Because, take my business for example. We will definitely be changing the way we work. My staff don't really want to go back to work, back to the office. We still want to have an office and have a meetup maybe once a week, but certainly it's nowhere near the big deal it used to be. And so we touched on it yesterday briefly that a lot of people are now, like Barclays for example, are talking about getting rid of their offices. The knock-on effect for this is huge, and I think it's interesting to talk about how it's going to affect the world that we live in. So if you imagine the knock-on effect for that is likely to be that city centres are likely to be less of a hub, and things can be spread out more. So the infrastructure within a city centre, if you think about all the bars, restaurants, and all of the sort of social activities that take place within a city centre, if there's less business within it, which is going to be the result, then cities, there's a chance that they may contract and become, and the infrastructure may be more spread out. If we're no longer traveling to and from a city centre, things like congestion going into a city centre during the rush hour, things like all of the pollution that are caused, all of these things are likely to change. Now, I would argue that ultimately they're changing for the better. It's something that we should have done ultimately anyway, and that whole way of working was something that we were moving towards slowly. But what COVID-19 has done is accelerated the move towards that. It's shown us all that we can have a lot of our office work be done from home, and we can do it in a very efficient way. And so it just makes me think, and there's been quite a lot of debate about this in the media, but I think that we're actually starting to see it now that we are allowed to go into work. We're starting to see the real effects. There still isn't a lot of traffic on the road compared to what there used to be. There still are a lot of people working from home, and our society, I think, there's a really good chance that our society, business society and society on whole, will be changed in quite a dramatic way as a result of what we've done. And I just wonder what your opinion was on that, guys.
Well, let's get a Maz, because I want to see your take on this, Maz.
Oh no, it's okay. Go on. Sorry, were you going to say something?
No. I want to see. I was about to say, let's get a Maz. I was pushing it along.
Oh, okay. The situation it will never get back to how it was. I mean, many employees from companies who have sent all staff home, they've actually already started to question why they had to even go into the office in the first place. Large technology firms were some of the first to make the switch to remote working for all their staff, and they built on the pre-existing infrastructure, such as office chat groups, remote access to critical tools, and the fact that much knowledge work can be carried out remotely. Companies like Amazon, LinkedIn, Microsoft, and Google, they actually advised all their workers stop coming into the office in, I think it was late February. And then in early March, you had Twitter, who strongly advised all its employees worldwide to do the same. And just recently, we've seen on the news that they've actually made it compulsory now. They've said that you don't need to come in for the rest of your life, or however long you work with Twitter. You can actually now work from home. Millions of people will now get the chance to experience days without long commute or harsh flexibility of not being able to stay close to home, for children or when a family member is sick. I think it's definitely a new platform. It's a positive, Grant.
No, it definitely is. We'll come to Mark in a second, because I know he's got a valid point on this. I just want to pick up on something that Grant said about that, meeting once a week, because obviously we've got just at the M42 Islands, just by me, obviously we've got the big business park there, which has got the Regis office suites there, which you can rent. You can rent a big meeting room for the day, can't you? And that's just cutting. I think it's gonna work so well for so many people. There are still businesses that are going to need call centers and stuff, and where people need to be working one-on-one every day. But I think for the majority of tech companies and digital companies, this is sort of the way it's going to be. And I think it's great, because the bounce back effect on that. The bounce back effect on that is is obviously less cars,
Yeah.
less pollution. It's going to be great. I mean, the other thing that my wife's doing this morning, a bike to work scheme that they've just started for the teachers and so that she can get a bike and she can just cycle to work every day. Applied for it this morning, £600. Go to Halford to buy a bike. Brilliant. Mark, what have you got to say on this?
Well, as you know, for a while, my wife has been travelling from Gloucestershire to Birmingham, the West Midlands. She's a key worker.
Was she doing that? Was she doing that during her birthday as well? Just checking.
Yeah,
just checking. Sorry.
Well, I just want to say that was a huge toll on her health, on the whole. Got to be at work at 7 o'clock in the morning, do a 10, 11-hour shift, and then drive back for an hour. So 2 hours on the motorway there and back. She's transferred down to Gloucestershire now, and she's actually working from home, so she's next door, which is a bit concerning for me because I'm also working from home, but we haven't seen each other. But ultimately, what I'm saying is, like, more and more businesses will go down this route, but they're also at the same time, one or two businesses will still have trust issues, and I know obviously their force have got trust issues with, are you going to do the work? She's a supervisor, so of course she's reliable, but you're not always going to get that with your staff members. So what COVID-19 has given people is that, actually, do I trust someone because they've been working all this time? And therefore, when we can return to work, will they continue to do this work from home, or do they need to be in the office?
Sorry, there was just a news flash just coming through, which is quite relevant. Sorry, Mark. It was if anybody's booked anything with EasyJet. Now, I don't think anybody's booked flights with EasyJet. But I'm just trying to think. I think I have. Anyway,
in Iceland.
Yeah, because I was supposed to be going to Iceland in October. 9 million customers' details have been accessed by hackers this morning, and that's on EasyJet. So it's literally a breaking story. So it's just the headline that's come through. So I'm not sure what that is. We'll get a bit more information if we get it before the end of the show. So I think again, Mark is right that it's working from home, and thank goodness you've improved that Wi-Fi. Is she on the Wi-Fi as well?
Yes, she's on the Wi-Fi. Yeah, hence why I have to go from the garden sunbathing to the kitchen. I've actually renovated from the office, to the kitchen. Yeah.
Yes, I understand. I understand what you're saying. Maz, what did you want to say?
I was going to say, Mark, interesting point that he made about employers being able to trust the staff to work from home. I mean, in the past, remote employees have had a bad reputation. Many employers, like you said, believe that their workforce would be too easily distracted at home, where the managers couldn't keep an eye on their direct reports. And remote work was, I suppose it was very rare a decade ago. Working from home was usually only available as a special arrangement to accommodate families in very specific cases. However, we have seen on this digital platform and with the pandemic that this is possible. I mean, there was a survey carried out recently in the US, and they gave stats about remote employees work an additional 1.4 more days per month than in office employees, which is nearly 17 additional work days a year. Also, what they said was remote employees take longer breaks on average than an office employee, which is 22 minutes versus 18 minutes, but they work an additional 10 minutes a day. Also, office workers are unproductive, they said, for an average 37 minutes a day. That doesn't include lunch or breaks, whereas remote employees are unproductive for only, I think it was 27 minutes. So that was really interesting.
Where have you got that information from? Have you just pulled that up now? Or was that in your head?
Yeah, seriously.
That's amazing.
Yeah, no, I read that a few days ago. No, I haven't pulled it up right now.
That's it. If you want facts and figures, it's Maz, isn't it?
Oh, it definitely is. Grant, what's your...
Look.
Okay, we believe you, Maz. I was just commenting. Don't panic.
Oh, right.
Obviously, Grant is quite heavily into this because he's got staff at work.
Mate, there's a wolf behind you. Stand still, quick. Yeah.
He's such a big dog. I'm like Jim from Friday Night Dinners. So you've got obviously staff working for you who work from home now, who were working in the office. Have you felt that they're not being productivity, or is the productivity is increasing? Really?
Quite
That
yeah.
is,
So
that's
I've found
wonderful.
that my staff have been awesome. They've really stepped up. As you know, I've got one member of staff. I don't know whether you do know this, that works from the States. So he kind of usually he'd work like 6 weeks in the States, then 6 weeks here, and he commutes backwards and forwards. That kind of works well from a time zone perspective, because it means that he can support our partners that are in different time zones. But I've definitely found that since we've been working remotely, I suppose more out of necessity. It's difficult. You can't really compare like for like. We've just gone. We're going through the busiest period we've ever been through, so they've had to step up. They haven't had a choice. But all of the staff have been working much longer hours than they normally would. They've been working weekends. They haven't got the commute to think about, so they start work early and they finish later. But for them, it's still the same amount of hours, involved for work. And I've just found the whole thing really positive. And even to the point where prior to lockdown, when I talked to the staff about whether they wanted to work from home, in some instances they said they like to come into work because they prefer working from a place that is fixed, and it gave them that that sort of routine. But since lockdown, I think they've adapted and realised that they prefer working from home because out of necessity, they've found a way of making it work for them.
Well, definitely. I mean, we've just literally had a quick comment. Let me just make a point on that. That it's this is our segue man. Everybody, this is Darren. Down in the southeast, sorry, and he's in 2002. BT had 12,500 home workers. This has gone down weirdly, but we still have a massive amount of agile mobile workers. He says he agrees with Maz. There you go, Maz. And find when he goes into the office, he's less productive in the office. So that that's what you
way all the time. Though. I mean, that's what the problem is, isn't it? When he's at home, is he on his Segway?
Well, I don't know. I think that's his side business. I don't, he still works for VT, and I don't think he goes and fixes stuff on his Segway, because that'd take all day.
What I was going to say here, and Grant, you picked up on this a while ago in one of the about one of my clients from Senior Home Solutions said maybe this is a good time for adapting garages and sheds to remote workers. Now, you looked into this, didn't you, Grant? You looked into a mobile, not a shed, but like just a mobile building or something at the bottom of the garden. So
yeah, I did actually. And funnily enough, I've been trying to find time to actually readapt that idea because at the bottom of my garden, I cleared a space and I had it ready to go, and then life got in the way and I never finished it off. So I think that the idea of having a 30-second walk to go to the office is a really good idea, where you can still be out of the office. I mean, I've got to admit, the reason I wanted to bring this up today is that I'm thinking of changing my whole sort of lifestyle, if you like, to adapt this sort of home working scenario, because I've just found it a lot more effective and efficient.
As well, sorry, is that your new car in the background?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so you've been
beautiful.
Plenty of time on the home working to go out and drive that, wouldn't you? Because
on a day like today, it'd be great, wouldn't it? Just to go and have a little spin, and might just do that in a bit. But the other thing I'm thinking at, and I was looking last night, I think I mentioned right at the beginning of this, before lockdown, we were looking to move house, and been long overdue. I've been in this house for 15 years now, and it's been a great house, and I've really appreciated it during lockdown. But prior to that, we were looking to move, and so now what I'm thinking is, if I do look to move, I'm either because, and this is because of lockdown, because of the way that I've found a way of utilising this house and really appreciating it for what it is, and not necessarily having such a massive aspiration to move to a bigger house. The idea of putting an office in the back garden, or moving to a slightly bigger house that's already got an office built with it, and that's what I'm thinking now. And I've got to admit that it has changed my whole perception of the work-life balance and how and COVID-19 is the response is responsible for that mindset. Because when you're in or how we were before, my life was work, commute, work, sleep, commute, work, and it was like no time to stop and think. Whereas I've found that I'm getting more work done at home. I feel more relaxed, and I feel less guilty because my family are with me all the time at the moment. And so because I'm at home, even though I'm not giving them that much attention, I'm still able to, have the odd conversation instead of just being constantly at work all the time.
Yeah.
And I want to take that and use that moving forward now, because that work-life balance is really tough when you're an entrepreneur, when you're busy.
I tell you something, he'll be watching Netflix next, Mark. That's the thing.
Hey, Matt, guess what?
You've watched the whole.
Yeah.
The whole 26 minutes, and wasn't it good? Wasn't it informative?
You know what? I've forgotten what happened in it now, because I was actually working at the same time.
26 minutes. Absolutely amazing. Well, let's move on to our last subject, which is business opening. You wanted to talk about this, didn't you, Mark?
Yeah, I was reading in the, on the news, if you like, that the USA, and doesn't matter which way you think of Donald Trump, and he's pushed this all the way through. States will be opening for business, shops, restaurants. The economy needs to get moving. It's his approach from June. Europe is doing the same. And, I looked at the briefing from yesterday from our own government, and yes, they are obviously working towards the R's that they're trying to do and make sure we're below this 1%, if you like. But they're working towards getting businesses open again. And that surely is a good thing. I know there's concern, and coronavirus is obviously here. We don't know what the answer is to it, and we don't know when we're going to have a cure. But the fact of the matter is, we cannot continue in this whole, which other parts of the UK are, stay-at-home mentality. We've got to get back to work. And I think, this will bear fruit, if you like, as long as the numbers still decrease, as long as people, as they say, are being vigilant as to what the government is saying. And that's what it's about, isn't it? It's about us doing our bit, but getting back to business. And obviously, Grant, you've moved now, haven't you? But
it's getting really hot.
It's less windy as well.
Is obviously working. Your staff are still working. You're actually more busier than you were before. And obviously, businesses need to get back to that zone of we're going to work.
Yeah,
it's yeah. So I've just got a little point, because obviously my and Grant's slight passion of pubs, and not for that reason, not because we're drinking them, but a lot of the pubs are now saying that they want to bring in the World Health Organization guidelines of 1 meter distance is actually okay with COVID, because they're saying it'll be easier to open up pubs virtually normally with a 1 meter rule.
Yeah.
I believe that, but I think obviously we have the 2 meter rule because of how far it travels when you sneeze. But again, isn't this down to the person who's sneezing to protect themselves and other people? So take a frigging handkerchief, take an handkerchief with you, and if you're going to sneeze or cough.
Before obviously COVID, with all the flu, it was always catch it, throw it and wash it type thing. That was a campaign throughout. Bless them. My daughter this morning was sneezing, just a natural everyday, nothing, untoward. But every 5 seconds, I'm like, right, go and wash hands, and have you got your tissues? And that's what we all need to do.
But do you feel that when you're walking around, as I say, I've only been out once yesterday, but even yesterday, when someone coughs, you're moving away from everybody who's coughing, wheezing, a bit of a sniffle, and you just think, oh, they maybe just have a cold and not have.
What was strange, Matt? Obviously, before all this, and back in January, when it was all going on in obviously most of China. I did have a cold, and I sneezed on the bus, and this chap covered his mouth, and I get it now. It covered his whole face, but literally must have seen about
all over his face, Mark?
Say again?
Did you sneeze all over him?
No, I did not sneeze. Of course. What I'm saying is, I was nowhere near him, and yet at the time I didn't think much of it. But he covered his whole face for
That's a big message,
3 or 4 minutes.
I've just Darren's put a massive message on that covers up Grant and Matt's there. Darren's just saying, as for Grant's comments on stats, though I agree with him that we have to do something, the emphasis and trust he has on less than 4-month stats you would never apply to business. Okay, the stats are poor at best. I think this is talking about our working from home. And
what stats
to quote, I'm just trying to see
stats.
what it is. No, you didn't give any stats. As for Grant's comments on stats, it might have been Maz. The stats are poor and best to quote, it's safe based on 4 months. COVID situation is a moving target and we won't understand what is safe for some time yet. Well, okay, I agree with that. Not such a big message, Darren. You lost your stream on that one, son.
I think we all agree with the fact that we don't understand completely where we are with COVID-19, or as anyone, even the scientists don't understand. So, we can only be fluid with what we know and keep moving. The fact is, and I've said this on day one, we cannot lock ourselves away and say, right, that's it. We're not coming out until it's over, because do you know what? We'll be dead before that happens.
Definitely.
Okay.
No, but it's a very good point. I think with Darren, I'm going to get him on at some point in the next few days because he makes valid points and he's a good laugh. So we'll get him on. And I'd like to see how his point of view regarding his segues.
And we want to go on his segues as well, let's face it.
Yeah, we want to go on his segues. So we'll get him on. But tomorrow, we have a special guest tomorrow. So Maz, do you want to tell us who's coming on tomorrow?
No, actually, I'm going to keep it a secret. Okay. I have somebody very special coming on tomorrow, somebody that I've met through this time on social media, who I've connected with. We've spoke a few times. Hello. But I'm actually not going to give much more away. I'm actually really looking forward to him coming on tomorrow as my guest. I'm not going to do much of the talking tomorrow. I'm going to give him the stage.
Whoa.
What's going on?
Is it somebody we've heard of then?
Somebody you haven't, but Matt and Mark have heard of him.
Okay.
But no, Grant. Matt and Mark, you've heard of Matt.
You're not selling this very well, Maz. Do you understand how? Do you understand how podcasts and shows work? That you tease the audience, but you have to give them something of information.
Yeah.
Well, we could say anybody's turning. Oh yeah,
give us a clue. Give us a clue, Maz. Come on.
I'm not good at teasing, guys. You know that.
Oh, here we go. I don't know what that means.
It's like charades. Can we get a question, get a yes or no answer?
I think what's happened now, hang on, Mark, I think what's happened now is that she's built this up too much.
So tomorrow I won't be doing the speaking. I'm going to give him the spotlight, and I'm hoping for the listeners, it will be inspirational because he does have an amazing story to tell. It will be slightly different tomorrow. So yeah, I'm actually really looking forward to it, and I'm really looking forward to him coming on.
I know who he is, and I still don't know him. Mark, go on.
I just want to get across it because obviously the feed here from the watch party is going mad with comments. Because they're listening to you and they're engaging with you guys. Now, obviously, we'd encourage people to go to the small business support group, put it on there so it can be on the screen. But Steve Michael says, do you know, obviously, Grant, anyone in the audience, if people working from home can get a tax break, obviously to convert what they need to do with their homes. And then Law, which I believe is one of your clients, Grant, has said, remote working for me now, online yoga, has changed everything. I now want to move to Portugal, as I can literally work anywhere in the world. So that's what COVID is giving us, the positiveness of it all.
If you speak to an accountant told me this a few years back, if you're talking about tax breaks, if you work from home there is a percentage of around 20 to 25% of your household costs you can put against your tax. I'm not sure if that's changed now, but that was a few years back. I think it's
That's
still
if
about
you're
the same.
self-employed, isn't it, Matt? We'd have to get an accountant on.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
And I think that would be not a bad idea to get an accountant on to talk about that, because if you're employed, you'd have to claim it back through expenses rather than through, doing it through your tax return, because you wouldn't do it in the same way.
That's true. That's very
But,
true. Maz, that guy tomorrow's not an accountant, is he? No, he isn't. No.
But I think that's a good one to have a discussion about on another day. Actually,
Definitely.
how people can leverage that.
Can I just use a quick plug for tomorrow's show after your show, after the show here for the Business Growth Network? Just putting it out there at 1 o'clock. It is supported by yours truly from Social Command. That's always a great technical stuff behind the scenes. But we have 2 special guests join us tomorrow, all about positivity, how they've dealt with coronavirus with their business. Richard, say again? Yeah, I don't
understand what's going on.
Yeah. But
that's who it is.
Jamil Kabir is joining from Bootcamp Media. I think he's got an interesting story there, obviously, because he's a residual revenue business and how he's working with that. Also, Richard from Chitso, who was a startup with all this, is one of our members, and he is coming on board just to tell you how he's coping with the whole moving his business forward. We all know these are difficult times for people, but it's about talking about positive stories right now.
Very true. Very, very true. Right, that is about it, gentlemen and ladies, because the sun is coming over the top of my house and he's blinding me. So I'll just keep leaning forward. So don't forget to join us tomorrow at midday for the show with a very special guest, which we can't talk about.
Yes, again. Oh, no. You have to message me afterwards here.
Brilliant. And don't forget that if you are putting messages in, please do it on the Small Business Support Group page, because we can get them on actually on the screen and you get a little bit of fame. So please do that. So thank you, everybody, and we'll see you tomorrow morning. Bye-bye.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
Right.
Ciao.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Toodaloo.